Hello everyone, I'm Omer. I'll be talking about our work, Bug Hunters' Perspectives on the Challenges and Benefits of the Bug Bounty Ecosystem. I did this work with my collaborators, Taha, Amit, Omprakash, Jens, Michelle, Dan, and Aron. Those are some of our institutions there. I'm not going to read the names. All right, let's start. Bug bounties, what are they? Well, bug bounties are these posters that companies set up, they're virtual, and they're looking for bugs. They're looking for vulnerabilities, security bugs. These are essentially crowdsourced vulnerability discovery systems where bug hunters or hackers find vulnerabilities, they report them to companies, companies learn these vulnerabilities, and as an appreciation, well, they recognize it or they compensate it. Now, if you take these bug bounty programs, there's a lot of companies out there, and you put them all on a big wall, right? Take a bunch of companies and throw a couple managers in there. Well, that's a bug bounty platform where you have a bunch of bug bounty companies and bug bounty hunters, the hackers, getting together, finding each other in a centralized platform. These platforms help standardize the hunter-manager process, so the communications between the company and the hunter, when the bug gets submitted, how it gets triaged, how money gets paid out, and whatnot. And HackerOne and BugCrowd are big players in this game. Now, why do we care about bug bounties? Why should you care about bug bounties? Well, it turns out that bug bounties work great for organizations. They are way cheaper to run than your in-house team, like a red team that you would have. And they provide access to a diverse set of skills, anywhere from reverse engineers to web security experts, whatever you can think of. And turns out there's been over 400,000 valid vulnerabilities found through these systems. That's quite a lot of them. And those are only from the public reports that these platforms put out. I'm sure there's more. Now, I've only talked about positives here. Why do we, it seems like the system's working, right? Well, it turns out there's very little research going into the actual workers, the hunters that are doing the work. And so that's what we asked. We asked what their experience is in this ecosystem, the hunter's perspective. We specifically looked at this problem through 4 high-level questions. And these questions were, what were the benefits? What were the motivations to get them into this ecosystem? The factors in choosing between programs, because remember, there's lots of these programs out there, hundreds of them. What are the challenges? What are the problems they face when participating in this ecosystem? And finally, which platform utilities they found useful. Remember, the platform is where all the bug bounties are there together. Now, when we were thinking about all these problems, we didn't just want to end up with a list of factors. We wanted to know which ones were the most important. So which challenges were the most challenging and which benefits are the most beneficial, for instance. I'm going to refer to these as factors. So to follow our research questions, we had a multi-pronged approach. We started off with a factor-free listing study, where we asked a bunch of hackers, 56 of them, to rate all the things that they can think about, all the factors involved in these 4 high-level questions. We did some qual coding on this, and we ended up with a list, an unordered list of factors involved. But remember, we wanted the order. We wanted which one was how important and by how much. So we designed a second study, a factor rating study. In this study, we asked hunters to rate how important they thought these factors were. We did some quant analysis on top of this, and we got our list of which factors were most important and by how much. Now, when we were doing all of this, this is survey-based. We wanted some rich answers. We wanted to get into the minds of the hackers. And so for this, we also conducted interviews with 24 of the hunters that we surveyed. All right. To do this, we needed participants, of course, and we reached a wide range of participants from all over the world with different amount of weekly hours put into bug bounties, all the way from a couple hours to full-time, with different number of bugs found, all the way from a couple bugs to thousands of bugs across their careers, and beginners to seasoned experts. Now, all this to say that the participant pool we had was pretty similar to what bug bounty platforms report hackers look like on their platforms. All right, let's get into some results. Just a reminder, we're looking at our results from 4 high-level questions, the benefits, factors in choosing between programs, challenges faced, and platform utilities. Now, if I were to talk about all the factors that we found and go through them one by one, it's a lot, right? We can't go through all of them. Please read the paper. We talk much more about there, but I'm going to pick a couple of the important ones, some of the ones that are surprising. And we won't talk about platform utilities at all for sake of time. All right, so benefits of bug bounty. Why do people do this stuff? Well, unsurprisingly, money. Turns out people want to actually get paid for the work that they do, and so money is a big motivator. But a close second is learning and improving your skills. People see this stuff as a place where they can hone their skills, learn new stuff, and in general be a better cybersecurity person. They do it for fun. Turns out these people like the challenge. They like going after these niche bugs for months and months on end, finally finding one for a big reward. Legal safe harbor is a big motivator. Legal safe harbor is this promise that companies make to hackers that they won't pursue legal action if they fall within the rules. Now, how is this a benefit? Well, if you don't get a promise from the company that they're not going to sue you, you can't really do real-world hacking without all the legal liability that comes with it, so they saw it as a benefit. Flexibility was a big one, hacking whatever, whenever, wherever you wanted. And surprising to us, we found that reputation scoring, so the reputation points you get from reporting these vulnerabilities, wasn't all that important. It was second from last from all the benefits that we asked people to rank. All right, now these are the benefits. Aren't they kind of the same between all the programs, right? How do people choose between the programs? Well, turns out there's some nuance there. Starting off with scope. Scope was the #1 factor of how hackers choose between programs. So this is what you're allowed to hack on within a program. There's some constraints. You can see the domain hacker1.com and api.hacker1.com are within scope here. You can hack on it. The technology within the scope was pretty important. You can see that GraphQL, Ruby, JavaScript is some of the technology that you would require you would need to understand to be able to hack. Rewards was, of course, important. We talked about it. But the bounty table was also important. The bounty table is how much money you're going to get depending on the criticality of the bug. Some hackers focus on lower-end bugs where you get paid less, but maybe you submit more reports. Some hackers spend a lot of time on more critical reports. Finally, legal safe harbor makes a comeback where they compare different programs and what legal guarantees they can have, and they pick their programs based on that. All right, now we kind of talked about benefits here for the most part. Let's move on to the problems. What are the issues in this space? What are they facing? Well, turns out that it's human factors. Communication and disputes are by far the most that came up, the most important issues, starting off with responsiveness. And on the left, we will be seeing some of, well, it's your right. You'll be seeing some actual screenshots from bug reports where they just don't get a response from the submitted bug, or maybe they don't get an update. Dissatisfaction with responses was another big one. When you submit your report, you have certain expectations, and in this case, there was they expected it to be a high severity bug, and it turns out it was not applicable. That's lost wages. They're not happy about that at all. Scoping issues is a big one. Seems like it's straightforward, but it really isn't. There's this gray area, what falls under scope versus not, and this can also cause disputes. Here you can see a SQL injection being rejected as not in scope, and fun/depressing fact, that actually got exploited later on. Mediation dissatisfaction is another one where once these disputes arise, the bug bounty platforms, remember the aggregate place, they come in and they try to mediate between the hacker and the company, and turns out that hackers really don't like mediation either. They think it's biased. All right, what are some of the outcomes of all these problems that arise? Well, from the interviews, we get some rich data to talk about it. Hunters quit. Sometimes they get deplatformed, and these are both beginners and more skilled people, so quite concerning. Sometimes we got reports that there were reports that were submitted, they got fixed, but they were unacknowledged, lost wages. Hunters not reporting bugs that they found because they think it's going to end up in a dispute. And so the company never learns about the bug. And finally, we heard from some participants that there's also a black market for this stuff, you know? And so maybe they get tempted, who knows? All right, what to do about all this? Well, Bug bounty programs are front and center here. So they should really look into the impact of increased scope and rewards. Now, this is pretty nuanced. I'd recommend you go read the paper. But this is how you stand out from other companies, barring all other factors. They should avoid common communication pitfalls. This was the #1 issue that hackers faced. And at the very least, what you can do, again, this is nuanced, but at the very least, what you can do is give frequent updates. Be responsive about it. Even if you're not going to respond, you're not going to fix the report, at least acknowledge that you got it. Maybe you're going to look at it in the future. Bug bounty platforms have a role to play here, too. They are the mediators, and so they should really fix the perceptions of mediation. If you look at it, the hackers and the programs are customers of the platforms. They need both for the system to work. So mediation should ideally, it's incentivized for both to work. And finally, they should focus on learning resources. Learning was a big motivator for doing this stuff. Learning is a big way people can get into this space. Beginners can get into this space. And there's been some good research on how to do this exactly. Dan has some work on this I'm citing here. All right, policymakers have a role to play here as well, but we're not going to get into it. It's in the paper. Please look at it. There's actually been some policy changes here. OK, takeaways. Bug bounty programs work great for companies. We ask, what about the hackers? What do they think? Turns out rewards and learning are big motivators, while reputation scoring isn't necessarily. Scope is most important when choosing between programs, though monetary incentives are important too, and legal safe harbor. Finally, communication issues and disputes are among the top challenges. And we think that bug bounty programs, bug bounty platforms, and policymakers can help alleviate some of these problems. With all that said, I'm happy to take questions.